Hi everybody and welcome back to the Tasting Room. We're sampling today a bourbon from Tennessee. This is Belle Meade Bourbon. So there's actually an interesting story that goes along with this bourbon here. Back in the 1800s, Charles Nelson Greenbrier, the original owner of the Nelson Greenbrier Distillery, was the original producer of this Belle Meade Bourbon. Now, that distillery unfortunately did not outlast Prohibition. I think Tennessee was one of the first states I've read to adopt Prohibition in, I think it's in 1909. Anyway, fast forward to sometime in the early 2000s. Two boys were traveling through Tennessee, Charlie and Andy Nelson, two brothers, and kind of happened upon the historical site of the Nelson Greenbrier Distillery. After doing some research, they had learned that Charles Nelson Greenbrier was actually like their great-great-great-grandfather. And, I guess the stars kind of aligned for them, and they after doing some research, and they decided they wanted to bring the distillery back to life. So here they are today, reproducing Belle Meade Bourbon. So this one here is bottled at 90.4 proof. So a good, good decent proof for a bourbon. I'm not typically a fan these days of the standard 80 proofers. I like somewhere in between 90 and 100 and change. A nice rich color on this one too. I want to say I read this was between 6 and 8 years old. So immediately on the nose here, getting a rich kind of oak and spice. Bit of a sweet toffee in there. And a bold, rye graininess. It's going to be a word today. Ever so slight notes of fruit. It's an interesting nose. Okay, heavy vanilla right away on the palate, followed by an inrush of these fruitier notes. Lots of apricot, lots of cherry. Kind of a bit of a caramel sweetness to it. There's kind of the odd citrusy note that I'm getting in there. Kind of seems to be throwing me off a little bit. Good long finish. Nice building spice there of peppercorn and clove. Leaves you with a little bit of that spice and a touch of sweetness on the palate. Alright, for the nose on this one, rich in oak and spice. A little bit of that toffee sweetness in there. And then that rye grain really came through and dominated. This must be a pretty high rye bourbon here. I'm going to go ahead and give the nose 22.5 points. On the palate, again, initially heavy vanilla, followed by some nice fruitier notes. That rye played a big part in the taste of this one here. Led nicely into the finish with a building spice. For the taste on this one, I'm going to go ahead and give it 21.5 points. Everything seemed to jive quite nicely. That note of citrus kind of threw me off a little bit. Finish, again, was good and long. Bold building spice, peppercorn, and clove. I'm going to go ahead and give the finish on this one 22 points. And then the overall balance I'm going to put at 21 for this one. And that's going to leave me with an overall score of 87 points for this Belle Meade Tennessee Bourbon. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or leave a comment in the comment section down below. And then, of course, if you're not already a member of my channel, don't forget to hit that button and subscribe. And then after you do, make sure you ding that little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. New videos on the weekends, so I'd hate for you to miss one. So go ahead and do that for me, and I will see you again next week, right here on The Tasting Room.